Hello everybody, and welcome at Solution COP21. We're going to talk about how to engage companies into climate action and how to scale up. And today, to talk about this topic, we have a representative of three major companies engaged in climate action. Ed Shepherd from Ben & Jerry's, Arnaud Deschamps from NESPRESSO France, and Arnaud Herrmann from Accor. Today we're going to talk about a special way to engage companies and to help them to scale up via a mechanism that is called insetting. Insetting means offsetting your climate footprint within your own supply chain, within your own sphere of influence, within the company's core activities. And to illustrate that, I'll give the word first to Ed to tell us about the insetting strategy of Ben & Jerry's and what kind of interest it represents, and how you think that insetting is a way to engage more companies and to scale up these strategies.
Yes, thank you, Tristan. Well, welcome. And I think, so I'm Ed Shepherd, I'm Social Mission Manager at Ben & Jerry's Europe. And I'm just going to send a few words about why climate change is important to us. But before I do that, I'm just going to outline a little bit about why Ben & Jerry's cares about climate change as a real focus point for our business. So Ben & Jerry's was founded in 1978. By two childhood friends, Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield. They bought an abandoned gas station, petrol station in Burlington, Vermont. And what they were looking to do was to create a food company. They initially were going to make a bagel company, but the bagel machine was too expensive. So thankfully, they decided to make an ice cream company instead, which we're very glad of today. And what they wanted to do was stretch the boundaries of what ice cream really was, big chunks, big swirls, do things that people had never really done with ice cream before. And they also wanted to create a company that reflected their own personal values, which meant, really being an upstanding member of the community and really looking at the social and environmental impact that your business can have. As the company grew and grew, we formed a three-part mission to govern the company. This is a product mission, which is to generate, create new and exciting ice creams all the time. An economic mission, which is to generate sustained value for all stakeholders, and then the social mission, which is to really realize the wider role the business can play in society. And it's on that social mission that we have this concept of linked prosperity, the idea that all three parts of the mission are linked and the company can only truly grow if all three grow together. So what does that really mean for tackling climate and our work with the environment? We've got a long history of investing early on in technologies within manufacturing to offset and reduce the impact that we have on the environment. And we're now really looking to engage in the next stage of tackling climate change as a business, and that's where our work with PROJET and carbon insetting comes in. As a business, we feel that corporations should be setting ambitious targets to reduce their carbon emissions. We've set a target of an 80% reduction by 2050 on the impact that we have on the environment, despite the fact we want to grow our business quite ambitiously over that time. And there's two things we're doing to try and do that. So the first is implementing a science-based price on carbon. This is something the business is actually pushing for here at the COP21. The idea that a great way to try and keep global warming below 2 degrees is actually to price carbon effectively and based on science. So as a business, we've brought in a €10 per ton tax on all the activities that we have, which will generate a fund which we're looking to try and tackle climate change. And the second part that we're trying to do through that fund is really to drive innovative ways to tackle climate change. And through integrated agroforestry, we find that we can create incredible benefits for communities and for the environment all over the world. This is a journey that we started with PROJET back in 2011. And what we saw was we were looking to offset our emissions through agroforestry in Peru, which is where we were buying our coconut from. This project has been a big success. Over the last 4 years, we've planted over 1 million trees across over 2,000 different farms. And there's a range of benefits that I'll cover in just a moment. We're at the next stage of that carbon insetting this year. We've been launching in Uganda, where we buy our vanilla from. All these products are fair trade, and for us, as a 100% fair trade certified product, it's an amazing tool to get closer to our growing communities and actually create more benefit than just the environmental benefit from the planting of trees. So roughly this integrated agroforestry creates 5 main benefits that we see for the growing communities across the developing South. Firstly, there's an increase in income through better yields, but also through the sales of the fruits and timbers as part of the agroforestry. And we also find that these yields increase over time because the trees and the increased biodiversity on the farm improve the nutrient and water retention of the soil. So it actually allows these growing communities to better adapt to the influence that climate change and global warming has on their communities. Another interesting social benefit is that we see the actual value of the farmer's land increase over time. This is one of the real tools that we have to try and alleviate poverty, to actually increase smallholder farmers' land value, because that allows them to have many more benefits in their kind of economic business. And another interesting social benefit that we've seen in Peru has been the increased social cohesion between communities that we run our agroforestry projects in.
So actually insetting goes much beyond just offsetting your climate footprint. It's generating multiple co-benefits, social, because your company is socially driven,
right,
and as well many other environmental impacts, right?
Yeah, definitely. We have a huge commitment to try and support smallholder farmers across the world. That's why our product's 100% fair trade certified. Mm-hmm. And we see this carbon insetting as an ability to not only meet our environmental objectives as a business, but also the social objectives. And that's where things like improving social cohesion in communities that we source from is a massive benefit. You know, if you look at the area in Peru where we've run our agroforestry project, it's an area where resource scarcity is becoming more and more of an issue, and it's actually driving communities further apart. Mm-hmm. This project's allowed over 2,000 farmers from different areas to actually work together on a common goal, on a common mm-hmm. interest, which we've seen as a real kind of social benefit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Arnaud, do you share this vision for insetting, like integrated climate project generating multiple benefits, like 360 degrees benefits on social and environmental, or what is your strategy in this field?
Yeah, and this is exactly the same, I have to say, and we have the same benefits, so it's very important. So our story was a bit different because we started 12 years ago with our sustainability program. Because we found out that because we want to have the very best coffee in the world, we found out that only 2% of the coffee production worldwide was good enough for Nespresso in terms of quality and aromatic profile. So it meant that 98% of the coffee that is produced on the planet cannot fit to the Nespresso standard. So we looked to our supply curve and the demand curve, and we realized that we will not have enough coffee to sustain the development of our company. So we decided to implement our sustainability program, work directly with farmers, and try to work on their ecosystem and try to make sure that they earn enough money to continue to produce coffee and give also the farm to their children. So basically, this is how we started. Why are we concerned with climate change? It's because we see immediately on the field, we are working directly with 63,000 farmers that they are impacted by climate change, because coffee is produced in mountains and we have to be higher and higher all the time, and sometimes the people, because of erosion, they lose everything from one day to another. So we have to look at this climate change. It's really a challenge for us. In our operations, because we are selling coffee in capsules with coffee machine and we have all the operations, we know that we consume resources. So we worked on a huge program in order to decrease this footprint, this carbon footprint. We did a lot of progress. We are working on recycling of machine, recycling of capsules, reuse of machine, energy consumption, factory production. So we look at everything because we have to reduce on all parts of our value chain this CO2 emission. And also we were looking to, so for example in France, to be very precise, our carbon footprint is 100,000 tons of carbon. So we look at what can we do to compensate, to offset this. One way of doing it is to work with PROJET and to plant trees. So if we plant 400,000 trees, we can offset our carbon footprint. But where it's interesting is that it's because it's not offsetting, it's insetting, because those trees, we plant them in our coffee farms. So when we do this, we have the multiple benefits. We see the same for Nespresso and Ben & Jerry's, of course. We have multiple benefits. The most important one is that when we plant the trees in our farm, it improves the coffee quality. So it's also a way to help the farmers to have a better coffee quality, because if the coffee quality is good enough for Nespresso, we can buy them the coffee and we pay 40% more than the coffee market price. So there is also an incentive for the farmers to also do this. So we are very happy to work on this insetting setup, and we hope that a lot of companies will look at it, because to us, when we can add the economic benefit and the ecological benefit and social benefit all together, and it's a new economic model, then we are sure it's sustainable.
Thank you very much. Very clear and comprehensive. So we see that it's obvious when you do products how you can inset by planting trees in agroforestry model within your supply chain. But you, Arnaud, you work in the service industry, in the hotel business. So how can you inset or how can you do insetting in a service industry like ACCORHOTELS?
Yeah, hello, Tristan. I would say we do it the same way, but differently, because we're the service provider. Actually, Accor is like a city. If you look it from far, we own about 4,000 hotels, and all put together, it makes a big city where 500,000 inhabitants are living every night. And so we are having a wide range of CSR stakes to be managed, and we do have this very significant and emblematic program called Plan for the Planet. That is one of the key elements we are pursuing at Accor. So Plan for the Planet is a long story. It has started 8 years ago, and it happened to become an insetting program, but it has been a learning curve for 8 years, ranging from reforestation to agroforestry, and now we are having this story about insetting. So what is the story? Actually, it all starts in the bathrooms, and like all hotels around the world, we are very committed to ask the client to reuse the towels to limit the amount of water, energy, chemicals used in the laundries. But being a committed company, we wanted to go further, and the solution we have found was to say, okay, very simply, we know that we generate some savings, economic savings, thanks to the reduction of laundry. And we decided to split the savings into two. Half is kept by the hotels to invest into other actions in sustainability. But half of the money, laundry savings, are dedicated to tree plantation. So that's the beginning of the story. It's now working for 8 years. We started having 7 projects around the world with some success, with 1 million of trees planted after 2 years. But at one time we decided to modify a little bit the project, because we wanted to add more values to it. First thing is to say we have hotels in almost 100 countries, and we wanted to have the plantation in the very precise locations where our hotels are implemented. And second, we wanted to use more than the environmental benefits of the trees. And being hotels, we also own restaurants. And so we have a strong relationship with all the agriculture upstream. So we decided to demultiply the number of projects and to plant the trees in the farms, showing that planting trees in the farm is the agroforestry model. It has many environmental benefits. It has many social benefits for the communities we support in the tree planting, and it has also an interest for us to support the transition of the agriculture model into a more sustainable model. So that's the switch we have performed 2 or 3 years ago. And now we do have 150 projects all around the world in about 25 countries. We have planted 4 million trees so far. And what we want to do now is to take benefits of these farms we support by taking the food back to our restaurants. And that's, we do have a pilot so far in Thailand, and we want to demultiply this pilot all over the world. But in Thailand, we have about 60 hotels. We support about 10 villages that make grows rice, coffee, tea, and so on. And so far in Thailand, 100% of the coffee, 100% of the tea, 100% of the rice will come from this plantation and will feed the restaurants, and will also support some, provide the guests some gifts with these products. So definitely this is what we want to do around insetting, is to have a benefits for our supply chain, because it's a way to secure, to have a better quality products, with limiting the cost, because it's a short distribution circuit, but with a very strong and emblematic environmental and social performance provided in the implementation. And it's also interesting, being a service provider, to have an interaction also with the client, because this is definitely stories we can tell to the client when he takes the coffee at the morning, saying, okay, we are committed, we are acting in the very precise location where our hotels are implemented, and we want to have a responsibility in the transition of the agriculture model, being a restaurant chain owners.
Thank you very much. I have a question for the three of you now. What are the main difficulties to implement an in-setting strategies, and what are the key success factors according to you?
I think one of the key challenges that we find is, our product, as it's a consumer-facing product, we are completely led by whether the product sells or not. That's why we've really focused our first in-setting projects on vanilla, which we know will be core to ice cream for the coming years, definitely. And after that, we're looking at cocoa. But the real challenge we have is that there are growing communities all over the world that we would love to get closer to, and this is a great way to do that. But we simply, often don't rely on the supply of selling a product. For example, a certain nut or a certain fruit, which would benefit well from agroforestry. We may launch a product and begin a campaign, and then it may not live to the future. So that's a planning kind of issue for us. Yeah.
Is it complicated, do you think, to convey the in-setting concept to the public, because it's quite complex notion, no? Or what do you think about this topic?
Yeah, no, I think it's difficult. It's difficult to convey it. It's not so difficult to put in place because we have good partners to help us, of course, to do this. For us, it's more evident, the in-setting, because we plant trees in our coffee farms, and thanks to this, we have a better life for farmers and better coffee quality. So it's quite evident why we are doing it. But the thing is that for the public, you need to convey this message, plus the recycling of the capsule, plus the use of the machine, plus the carbon footprint, plus the water management, plus the fair trade and the different labels. So at the end, it starts to be very complex for the consumers and for the public to understand what we are doing. Because if we want to be a citizen company, if we want to be responsible, there are so many things that we have to do, and we will do all of them. But to communicate it in a clear way, this is a tough thing.
Yeah.
Arnaud, yeah?
I will add, yes, Tristan. You were asking for the difficulties to implement in setting, and to go further, Arnaud, I would say you have to be very patient. It's definitely a long-range and long-term journey. You cannot change everything in one day. It's a step-by-step thing. In our cases, you need to have plantation all around the world if you have something to handle. You have to convince every single people into the company. It's not only the procurement, it's not only the sustainable development, it's not only the people in the hotel, it's the HR as well to explain everything. So it has to be a company involvement in its own. And then to explain this to the clients, once again, it will take time because it's something very new. It's not only having a label put into a product, it's the whole story of having short distribution circle, having very strong commitment to communities, having very strong action and very concrete actions on the environment. So it's a whole story that takes time to be spread.
It's a long time journey.
Definitely.
So we have 5 minutes left. Can you take 1 minute each to try to convince people, companies, leaders, and people as well who are watching us on why you think in-setting is the future of climate action for companies? Or something like if you had to advertise in a 1 minute pitch, or if you want to conclude with any remark.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Ben & Jerry's, it's a fantastic opportunity to really get people to understand the issue of climate justice. Climate change goes beyond the planet and the atmosphere. It's actually people at risk from this. And through the agroforestry project, we are straight away supporting those most at risk from climate change in a way that also benefits the wider planet. So that's why we as a business are very much committed to the agroforestry model.
Arnaud?
Okay, so compared to the offsetting, because this is what most of the company do today. So you consume resources and you offset the carbon footprint. And sometimes you offset the carbon footprint in something that has nothing to do with your value chain, nothing to do with the company, which is already good. If all companies do this, this is already good. But if you can integrate it in your value chain, then you motivate much more your employees. It makes better sense for everybody because you can touch this, you know. And for example, for us in France, knowing that we compensate our footprint and helping people to produce the coffee we are going to drink finally, you know, in Costa Rica, Colombia, Ethiopia, wherever, it's really great, and it does a very large and a deep sense of purpose, and this is what we need also in the companies, also a sense of purpose. So I really encourage people to look at this and find their own way of doing insetting, because it brings so much value, also an emotional value.
Thank you very much, Arnaud. Very convincing. Arnaud?
I do believe that the agriculture model we have so far, the quantitative approach of producing goods is out of order. There's no future for it. So we have to change and to find a new model for agriculture. And I definitely, and at ACCORHOTELS, we definitely are convinced that agroforestry and insetting is part of the solution. And so we believe very strongly on insetting. We'll take our responsibility to impulse new dynamism around insetting and transform the sourcing we have on food through this kind of model. That's good for the planet, that's good for the people. That's a new way to reconcile rural land and urban land. We won't be this alone. We definitely need to be strong, allied, and multiple to propose this switch, this transformation of the model. But we'll continue and we'll take commitments in long term on doing this transformation.
Are you optimistic or pessimistic? Or realistic?
I'm naturally positive, so optimistic. So I think we can achieve this. The real question is, are we going to transform the whole model or only the ACCORHOTELS environment?
Yeah, there is very few people engaged so far. Are you guys more optimistic, pessimistic, or realistic?
I mean, if you are realistic, it's very disturbing, because when you see the deforestation today and what we are going to plant in comparison, it's really a drop in the ocean. Huh? So, and also it's really unfair, because we consume resources, and then our coffee farmers, for example, they don't produce a lot of CO2. Huh? We produce much of the CO2. But they will be the first one to be impacted by the climate change, which is completely unfair. So we have to do something anyhow. So it's still not enough. So I don't know if we can be optimistic, but you know, at the end, what counts is what we are going to do. We can talk, but we need to do things, even if there are small drops. At the end, we need to be in action.
I think there is cause for optimism, and if you look at the range of businesses looking at carbon insetting as a solution, you can really see that if you think smartly about how you can integrate your business and your value chain with an insetting model, there's amazing benefits that can happen from all range of businesses, from service to B2B to B2C. So I'm definitely optimistic that more businesses can look at this, but it's about looking at it in quite a pragmatic way and starting with small steps, which is what it seems like all of our organizations have done.
Thank you very much. I think time is up. So thank you very much. And for those who want to know more about insetting, there is a platform created called International Platform for Insetting, of which you guys are members. Not yet Ben & Jerry's, but maybe one day, we hope. So it's an international platform to share on insetting, on the definition and on the practices, and to defend insetting as a way to leverage climate action within companies. Thank you very much, everybody, and have a good COP. Thank you.
Thank you very much.